And we're live.
We are.
Yes.
We've been on a lot this week. But
yeah, no, actually, we've only been on Tuesday. Well, you've been.
Well, I've been doing videos.
Yeah, you've been
channel.
doing videos, not me. It's, try to pick my battles.
Well, I tried to pick my battles too, but I got pummeled on, so I had to respond. But what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. So.
Definitely. Oh, I need to actually. I don't have this on Wi-Fi. I have it on Wi-Fi and not on the other.
Okay.
But if I change it,
it
might.
Works.
See how we're coming in. Anyway, let's
We've got a good connection.
Let's wait for. Well, the weather's kind of choppy. And if I change it, I wonder if we'll lose it. Probably not. Let's see here. We should be okay. I think it's okay now. Anyway.
Okay.
Yeah.
We are good.
We are good. All right. So anyway, I've been kind of tired lately trying to keep up the Twitter attacks.
Oh my gosh. It's like, it's like, nonstop, really. It's just like,
we were shopping and, as I'm looking at the list, I kept seeing, and somebody's like, what, you don't have nothing to say or something? I'm like, we have a life. We're shopping. We don't sit there all day trying to deal with all these accusations and
yeah. So here's some of them. People are saying they have no evidence for anything. They don't need evidence. They have belief. Trust me, no trans woman ever in the whole history of trans was ever a woman, felt like a woman, or even knows what it is to be a woman. Same goes for trans men. Take your delusions and misogynistic entitlement propaganda elsewhere. It has no business in the life of female people.
You know what I've noticed? That a lot of these
anger.
There's so much anger. It's almost like they have penis envy. They're fighting. They're becoming what they're fighting.
They really are.
It's really sad. It's like this vitriol, this anger, this fear mongering. Rapists because of trans women. Predators in the bathroom because of trans women. It's like, how many trans women have actually been arrested for rape, for being a predator? Very few. There's a lot of women sitting in death row that have committed crime. Women and men both have the capacity of committing crime. I don't know what this hatred of men is all about.
I don't either, but we have men even saying things.
I know, because they're wrapped around the fingers of a lot of these women.
I remember when we watched The Bachelor the other day, Peter's dad was silent. And I don't know if you guys don't know Spanish, you don't know the behind the scenes of what happened. Barbara, the mother of Peter, for those of you who didn't watch The Bachelor, you probably won't get it. But basically, Barbara did not want her son to be with the person that ended up being there on the stage, Madison.
Yeah.
And basically was just not happy, right, throughout the whole thing. And she looked over to her husband and said, "Ayúdame aquí, me están tratando mal."
Help me here, they're treating me badly. Because that's so what women.
The neck that turns the head.
Yeah.
It's like, that's how it is.
And then it's like, Mark, you hate women. It's not that I hate women. It's that, listen, I was a sign at birth. I know exactly the tricks, the trade, the manipulation, the things that they use. Am I saying that women have not been abused in century and they've suffered? I'm not saying that. But everyone has suffered. Everyone on this planet has had some sort of suffering. We all deserve rights. But I don't believe that an individual deserves rights when they're trying to take the rights away from others. And that's what I'm seeing here with this Rad Fem movement. They are trying to remove your rights.
And the irony of the whole thing is that Andrea Dworkin, a rad feminist herself, was on the side of trans women and had trans women friends. This person was saying that she was in full support of trans women and their inclusion. So the irony is that, this is just utter hatred. It is not about being exclusive of any one person. It's about being hateful to people.
And using the woman card to achieve that hatred.
It is. It is.
And that's what's so sickening about this. I mean, this guy, Lindsey Gann, you're
a tough bloke, Mark.
Browbeating a woman and mocking her because she's concerned about men encroaching on women's spaces. What are you doing tomorrow? Kicking a puppy?
Oh my God.
I mean, it's like these people are just absurd. Totally like wacky, you know?
Another man, Mark, stop mangling the Queen's English. No one is ever assigned a sex at birth, let alone a gender. It's observed and noted. Most often, it's already known from an ultrasound scan weeks before the birth. It's like, you guys, you think you know biology, but we can't even dissect a blade of grass.
I know.
Honestly.
And let's put biology aside. Let's say that they were somehow right about this and the other. We live in 2020. Right now, we're getting plagued by coronavirus. Who knows if there's even a tomorrow for all that matter, right? But people have to nitpick on certain things that shouldn't even be an issue. This is human rights. Individuals have a condition. You should have a little bit of empathy. You're talking about me kicking puppies. What about what you all are doing to a group of people that have had to suffer enough? We don't need your browbeating and your harassment and you're making fun. That doesn't solve anything, all because you're defending a group of people that, I don't know about you, but it's 2020. What rights don't women have nowadays?
I don't know. I mean, there's been a lot of
they vote
CEOs that
they're like, yeah, they're up there on the chain and getting money.
I mean,
just
Hillary
like
almost became president.
I know,
for crying out loud.
But they're just holding on to this all because a person like you is going to go in the bathroom, to alleviate yourself, pee, poo, touch up your makeup, whatever it is. That is like a reason for alarmist, and because young trans women want to compete in sports because, after all, they are women and they are to compete in the sports of the gender they identify as. No, that's like the end of the world scenario for these people.
I know, but they also want to abolish gender stereotypes. That's the real oxymoron here. They want to abolish gender stereotypes, but what they do is perpetuating them, right?
Exactly.
They're like, we need our protected spaces. We need to be sex segregated in our safe places. We can't let those men allowed into our shelters. We can't let them into our locker rooms. And it's like, you know, there is not much self-IDing going on. I mean, this is really, being trans is not like some kind of a choice, like as if I wanted to live a life that's a little bit harder than
it's
other people.
Bullies in the playground that are just trying to push their prejudice on people. And they don't want us to compare it to the plight of blacks. They don't want us to compare it in the plight of all the other minorities. But it is the same thing. Hatred, division, separatists. Go in the back of the bus. They're telling trans women they can't use the bathroom. Don't drink out of the water fountain. Same thing.
It makes no sense.
I mean, it's like they're being bullies. There's no other words for it.
And then we're accused of being racist. We're accused of being racist. You know, I mean, it's like someone says, Bullock, stop trying to find ways to explain your racism. And then someone else writes, trust me, trans women have never suffered the injustices of women of color or Jewish women. No, hatred and bigotry and discrimination and segregation is common to all people who suffer under any kind of tyrannical oppression. It is a common thread. It is not some unique banner. The problem with a trans woman is their self-entitled appropriation of all women's pain, which in reality they never experience and never will. They experience male pain, not being a woman. Well, I would like to venture to say, what if, in this scenario, a trans woman post-op walked into a restroom and a man went in and raped her? Mm-hmm. Would that be not the same exact thing?
Of course it is. But see, they have this It's almost like I've noticed that everybody that's ever suffered wants the next person on that train to suffer like they have. So you've got a lot of gays that are against trans women, the trans people, but it's mind blowing because
they're discriminated against for being gay.
All these individuals that have been discriminated against are now discriminating against trans individuals. It makes absolutely no sense.
It really doesn't.
Yeah, let's see here.
I mean,
Dylan joins us, Liz joins us, and
Liz
Young
and
Turf.
Dylan and Young Turf, cool.
And awesome. Liz is excited that we're on, and Young Turf says,
trans people will go to the bathroom whether we like it or not.
That's right. I mean, what are they going to do? Hire guards to go on every bathroom so that trans women don't use a bathroom. It's like another thing I've noticed, the majority of individuals that have a shit fit with all of this, they've either been raped, sexually molested, so they have a massive fear. I say to you, I'm so sorry that you had to go through that. I was sexually molested too, but you need to work on that because the only person you are harming is yourself until you learn to work through that pain and that trauma. By you lashing out to other people, it's not going to help heal you. You're only making yourself worse. Telling trans women they're men, not allowing trans women in women's spaces is not going to prevent predators from hurting you, your children, or anyone else. You're only creating more negativity and more hurt in the world. Be a better person and stop being such separatists.
In all my years, I have never experienced the degree of hatred that I have in the last few days when it comes to these attacks on Twitter. And I am so grateful for all of you haters because you've allowed me to become stronger. And I've gotten encouragement from other people out there who see what we're doing, who see the fight that we have on our hands against people like you and all of your ideology, the hateful anti-trans sentiment that is expressed, specifically focused on trans women. And I am aghast at how awful your hearts are. I mean, that you guys, people would say, things like, by the way they're acting, we were acting, because we simply are just opposed to what they're saying and we're fighting off their insults.
It's constant all day long. I don't know how it's like a mob mentality.
They accuse us of they say, regardless, they are determined and loud, and they don't give a blank about women's consent. And they say, like rapists, prove me wrong, TRAs.
And then they have to use all sorts
of
labels.
Like rapists, they would venture to call us in the same category as a rapist.
These people have issues. They really do. Like I said, a lot of them have been sexually molested. They're angry. And Young Turf says, how do you work through sexual abuse? Well, you go to a therapist if need be.
Mark has been working through his sexual abuse.
And I haven't gone to a therapist. I find the best way to work through pain and suffering is to go inward. You make peace with yourself. You forgive your offender. You learn to love unconditionally. You do things. Go out to nature. I don't drink. I don't smoke. I don't take drugs. I eat healthy. I work out. I try to do things to better myself because this is my body and I take care of my body. And we all have some sort of emotional baggage that we're carrying. But to actually face these pains and these challenges and unravel, whether it means keeping a journal, whatever it takes, you should know, every individual should know what it takes to heal yourself. We rely too much on outside influences,
True. One more comment. Someone said, F off, Mark.
Yeah.
You don't get to tell women who can touch their bodies. We don't need to give anyone any reason whatsoever to refuse to be touched by anybody. I get to choose who touches me. You don't have a say. Again, F.
And again, it's like and I don't know if that was for the comment that this one person was saying, I would only go to a female doctor. I will not allow a trans woman doctor to touch me or whatever. And it's like, first of all, how are you going to know? Second of all, that's kind of like very separatist. It's like people that are angry, they have issues. These people are hurting. hurt people hurt people. And I really do feel sorry for a lot of these individuals because
It
they
is
are
really sad.
all that anger and all that angst and all that vitriol. They have pain. And I wish nothing more that for them to be able to heal that pain, to grow up emotionally. A lot of these people are still stuck in very adolescent year mentality.
Now, here's an interesting question for you. Did you transition as young turf to work through abuse?
Did I transition? Not necessarily, no. And I'm sure they might have had some sort of issues with that, but I knew from a very young age. I mean, my parents knew from a very young age.
Eso va a ser tortillera.
Yeah, I mean, I was walking around like I was a little dude, you know,
Right.
and it's always been that way for me. My sexual molestation wasn't a very major thing in my life because one of the things that I have is the ability to shut things off when I need to so it doesn't hurt me. And I learned that living with a dragon mother that was very verbally abusive, and I lived with a very abusive father, alcoholic father. So I learned to shut things down so they wouldn't hurt me. So I've been in touch with myself from a very young age, and I'm able to go through things. And sometimes I just put things on the back burner and then I bring it back up. But being transgender, and although many people have been sexually molested, I'm sure a lot of the TERFs, a lot of the rad femmes have been sexually molested, but they're not trans. So it's not correlated with one or the other. You know, it's just a lot of people have dealt with sexual molestation, you know, and I blame the mothers for not keeping their daughters and sons safe, because that should be the number one priority of every parent. My parents didn't keep me safe because they brought into the house the man that sexually abused me for 4 years.
Yeah.
So I blame the parents, and mostly the mother, because women are meant to be those mama bears, are meant to be the ones protecting, keeping the eye on their little ones.
We missed a call.
Oh, did we?
Called in.
Let me see here. How come it didn't ring on here?
I don't know.
Is
Anonymous
this thing on?
unknown caller. You can
Try again.
I guess.
Sometimes this thing works. Sometimes it don't work. I have it open. It should work.
I wonder if it's our friend from Twitter this morning.
Which friend from Twitter this morning? Anyway, let me go back over here.
The guy who was telling me.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mr. Wanna Know It All. All 23 years old age of him. Let's see what else we got here. Dylan says, well, yeah, white trans women will never experience life the same as trans women of color, and the same for trans men too. I don't think anyone could experience anything the same. We all feel pain, and we all have different pain tolerance.
Right.
You know, some people have higher pain tolerance than others, you know, but pain is pain, and everyone has to go through some sort of suffering. But, you know.
And honestly, pain doesn't have to be physical. You know, the amount of pain that people have experienced, if you were to categorize the depth of how inflicted and how damaging it is, I would venture to say that emotional abuse, psychological abuse is like exponentially worse than any kind of physical beating, any kind of cut that you could get from getting hit. Mm-hmm. I mean, at least a cut can heal. You know, you might see a scar, but an emotional wound is open, and if not dealt with, is there for the rest of your life, you know, and it really does do a lot of like a lifetime of damage, honestly.
Emotional wounds are horrible, you know, and I'm going to say it again. The foundation, the first 5 years of life are the mother's responsibility.
Yeah.
From the moment that child has been conceived and growing in the mother's womb, the mother is responsible for every thought, everything she says, and how she handles things. As soon as that child comes out, who is that child with most of the time? The mother.
Mostly the mother, yes.
So the first 5 years are critical, and that's how you're creating the foundation of that child. So these radical femmes that blame men for everything should be pointing the finger at themselves.
True.
Because you are responsible for who you bring to this world. Yeah. Fathers help. Most of the time they're working. Most of the time, you know,
well, they're there, but I mean, they're like helping mom.
Right.
You know, they're like staying awake to help feed the baby the formula or
the
get,
disciplinarian,
or but I mean, as we're talking about, like the baby in those early months, when the child is helpless and stuff. I mean, dad can help, but he's not like, he's not essential.
Mother has, look at the show, The Bachelor.
Essential.
Look at The Bachelor, like you said. That woman's face, what was her name again? Barbara, her face was like, her eyes, and it reminds me of my mother, because that's the kind of look, every time anything.
I saw that look. She like stole the show.
Yeah.
She like literally took over the program. She was like, it was like Barbara Cam, basically. And it was unbelievable how vocal she was without even saying a word. Exactly. She was so like cutting and very like just destructive
and controlling. It's like, who's getting married here?
Right.
The Bachelor guy
or Barbara?
She's like, she did not approve. And when women don't approve of something, oh my,
and there were tears.
Yeah.
There was crying, but there were no tears. It's like, it's like, oh my gosh, this is so fake.
Manipulation at its finest.
Oh my gosh, it's so fake.
Yeah.
It's like, I mean, I don't know what she was thinking and what many of you rad femmes are thinking when you write all that hatred on your on the Twitter feed and stuff, but you are so obviously
extreme
manipulative. I mean, it is so blatant.
I was assigned female at birth.
You know the game.
I know the game. I have been with women since I was 13 years old. My mother, dear goodness, it's like, so I know all the manipulation. And look, I'm not beating down on women. I love women, okay? They're the greatest thing that ever walked this earth. But we all know manipulation. We all know what they're trying to do now, and it's not right. I'm not going to sit there and wave a women's rights flag while women with trans history are being shoved under the bus, all in the premises of boogeyman's going to come and hurt you in the bathroom, or, oh, those mean, big, bulky trans women are going to beat women in sports. Come on now, people. It's 2020. I think we need to move beyond the small stuff and understand reality. And the reality is that there are trans people. We're not going to sit there and use bathrooms that are neutral.
Or a third space.
We're not some hybrid that requires special little places for us because we can't mingle with the general public.
That concept would just out a trans person to like focused violence. It's like,
oh my God.
I mean, do you realize it's almost like, radical feminists and gender critical people are saying, we'll support you if you have your third space and everything. I mean, we're totally for that, but it's almost like the wringing of the hands. Like, you're not our responsibility. We don't care about you. You have your own little space and you just stay in your own little zone.
And it's like the same wording. Yeah, we'll fight for your rights. We'll give you your gender pronouns, but dare you go into our spaces? So I'm like, so there's conditions to these things. You want trans people to be subhuman. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. And let's see, Lynn and Mark, you're right. Some people are still suffering, though.
The adolescent abuse. Their adolescent abuse. Yeah, and it's a real issue, obviously. And Young Tooth says it was my father who was supposed to be taking care of me when I was getting molested at the park.
Yeah, parents can be very much to blame for a lot of things that happen to us. I'm even safe to say that, and not to say that fathers can't be trusted, but if I would have ever had a child and I would have stayed as my assigned sex at birth, that kiddo would not get out of my eyesight. And especially having been molested, so I know how things are. I have to say, mothers are the main individuals that are responsible for children. Not to say that fathers need to get off scot-free, but that's
Well,
yours. You
they
carried
shouldn't.
that child 9 months in your womb. Okay.
The first 1,000 days is mom. That's it. Mom is the source of that child's every being. I mean, the connection that mom makes with that child in the first 1,000 days really shape the little individual that they're going to turn out to be. I mean, that is how critical and how intrinsically like meshed it is that a mother's influence on her child is, even in the womb.
Yeah, it's a massive connection.
If the mother is emotionally disconnected from the child, if the mother is emotionally distant from having the child, or wishes that the child was not the gender that it was going to be, I mean, do you not know what kind of, oh my gosh, that would be so disconcerting for that child, because the child feels the mother's emotions.
I know. And also, who is it that a kid calls for? Not daddy.
No.
It's always mommy.
And who are the football players always saying?
It's always mommy, So anyway, let's see here. Tacos Forever says she was definitely hamming it up for the camera. She was.
Yeah, Barbara was definitely.
I mean, it was just, she stole the show. And Young Turv said,
I told my father, and he told me, if it's still bothering you, tell me. I told him, but he didn't do anything.
That's crazy.
I am so
sorry.
Sorry.
So very sorry. I mean, no child should ever have to go through that.
Ever.
But I'm safely to say that a large majority of individuals have been sexually molested. Some people repress it, But how we handle this makes a major difference in our life. We could be angry. We could fear men and continue to hold and harbor this. It's only going to hurt us. And not all men are rapists. Not all men are molesters.
No.
We can't walk around this world fearing everything and everyone. And then those fears and those hatreds turn it around and try to take somebody else's rights away from them, all for your rights. That's wrong. I'm sorry. I'm not going to grant that for anyone. I believe in human rights. I believe a trans woman has the same right as a woman.
And we were talking about it, some of that vitriolic hatred and absolute disgust for anything that walked on this earth as a male, specifically trans women, that hatred that's focused on us by radical feminists is a lot of times a product of what? Of that abusive situation where someone got raped, or someone was violated, or they were in an abusive relationship, or their husband beat them, or their boyfriend kicked them. I mean, it's like, and I totally understand. I mean, that would trigger anyone, right? I mean,
of course. When the Mitch Fest thing was happening and trans women are wanting to be part of it as females that you are, that was like the biggest hoopla that ever happened, because they're like, we want our safe places away from men. Well, trans women are not men. I don't know why it is so hard for you to see that. You want to put logistic about biology and all this, that, and the other. Look, there are some, and we're going to read in a little bit an account of a woman who is 6 foot tall, looked pretty manly, and had to deal and face the things that trans women face. Every time they would go to the bathroom, they would get questioned, they would get embarrassed. You don't realize that you're harming your own kind by doing this, because not all women fit the same mold. Some women look very masculine, other women are feminine, some women are tall, some women are short. You can't base your genitals and your chromosomes on everything. That's just a small part of who we are. But if a person tells you, I identify as such and such, as a woman, you should be welcoming to a trans woman. You should be nurturing. You should be opening your arms to accept a fellow human that is suffering and has to deal with enough. So I say, shame on you.
I mean, where is the compassion? Honestly, where is that heart of like just being able to like try to be empathetic to people like me. I mean, instead of like throwing out hate bombs on Twitter, which are unnecessary, because what human actually talks like that? I mean, do you really talk like that as you talk on Twitter, Radfem, about other people that you do in real life?
Probably
I don't
do.
know.
Dylan says, honestly, I get anxiety around people in general when it comes to bathrooms. It doesn't matter which one. I wouldn't mind having neutral restrooms, but I don't think that it means we need to be grouped. And that's everyone's or what's the word I'm looking for? Prerogative, you know. Frankly, they're the cleanest bathroom, you know.
I prefer
so do I,
a
because
single
whenever
stall.
I go to the guy's bathroom, it's like pretty disgusting.
Yeah, but I mean, I prefer a single stall, and that's not because I'm a trans woman. It's just because I like my privacy.
Yeah, everybody does.
I don't really go to the bathroom in order to like make some kind of statement. No. I'm just there.
They're stalls, for crying out loud. You know, it's not like you have a little hole in the ground and everybody's getting to see what you're doing. It's a bathroom. You go in, you go out, you know. And so Brianna joins us. Welcome. Long time no see. Thank you for joining us. And she says,
I think women just want to keep their place in society. They are sort of threatened by trans women. Trans women don't endure monthly periods or are responsible for shaping children.
Yeah. And they hate the fact that some trans women look pretty darn good compared to other women because they don't have to have the babies. You know, that estrogen dominance that kind of destroys the body. So there's kind of like a little bit of envy. And you have to safely say there's some women that have penis envy.
But are women losing their place in society by trans women?
That's in their minds. In their minds, I guess that's what they think it's going to happen. You know, it's like, it's this childish type mentality. You're not allowed in our sandbox. You go over there on your own sandbox. This is our sandbox. It's taken us years to get this sandbox. They're acting like children.
It sounds like Brianna's views are shifting a little bit, you know, with regards to transgender identity. I wonder where she is on that.
I'm not quite sure. Why would you say that? But
just because she's expressing more of an opinion that would be more in line with radical feminism.
No, on the contrary, that is saying that women feel threatened by trans women.
Trans women don't endure monthly periods or are responsible for shaping children. That would be a rad femme.
No. She's trying to say that women are jealous that trans women don't have to endure periods or have babies. So
I take it as she's saying that we're excluded from women because basically trans women.
I don't take it that way, but please explain so that
I don't know. I'm just I just know that, you know, she was interested in, you know, identifying more gender queer. I don't know where she is on that road.
Are you shifting more with the rad femme views? I mean, no judgment, but I didn't get that. I get that you're saying that women are jealous of trans women because they don't have to endure childbearings, you know, their bodies don't got to get all messed up. They don't have to deal with that monthly that, you know, born women get. But let's see. Let us know.
So Dylan says,
Brianna, exactly. And given what women have had to go through for centuries, it would make sense that they don't want to lose their earned power. Yeah.
I guess. I don't know.
That's what I took it, but Brianna will explain. She says she does not buy into the rad femme ideology.
I think it's pretty, and then something else.
Pretty petty.
Petty. Okay.
Of course, that's what I read, but you know, misunderstandings.
I don't know.
Yeah. So yeah, it's really bizarre. It's really bizarre what's taking place, and it's getting progressively worse. I mean,
but you know, the thing is that I don't really understand the double standard because. Mm-hmm. Like a person that we've been dealing with on Twitter in the last few days, they say things that, I mean, I just can't believe that this is something that is being supported. And someone wrote, this person is progressing to SRS to alleviate dysphoria. I'm sure you did it too, but if this person is a pretender, then you are too. The only difference is they know that surgery will not change their sex. And I mean, I'm just like baffled at the fact that they would want to give credence to a person who's going to go through a surgical procedure to get a vagina.
Listen,
and yet, you know,
listen,
it's unbelievable.
I've lived in the gay community for many years. You know, I was going to gay bars since I was 16. There's a term called fag hag, right? Women love to hang around gay men. It's they don't feel threatened by them. They know the gay men aren't going to come on to them. They feel pretty safe around gay men. So Fiona's a gay man, right? Fiona has a form of fetish, liking to wear little princess crowns and, you know, the outfits and things of that nature. Radfems are applauding and cheering them on.
I remember earlier on, though, that Radfems would tell me, it's like, oh, Lynna, you look so pretty. Oh, I'm just so glad that, you know, they would give you all these
because
accolades.
We were toting their flag,
Right.
and that's what Fiona's doing. Fiona had to find some sort of validation, and she's finding the validation, or he's finding, because I can't give, and not that I'm trying to misgender, and I would never misgender a trans woman, but a person that wears a t-shirt that says men and they identify as a adult male, why would I call him a she when they are trying to belittle trans women by calling trans women men? Do you want to know how belittling, how insulting that is for another human being to call a person who has gender dysphoria, who's done what they needed to do to alter their sex, to call them a man? That is like slap in the face.
It is like, you know, I mean, I'm 50. I'm not here to earn any beauty pageant wins, or I'm not here to like be like this little thing that wants to like be on Instagram and stuff. I'm 50. You're 55.
Mm-hmm.
We are here because we feel that the identity of transgender people is being threatened to the point of extinction at this point. And we are here to make a statement to those of you who would like to erase us, to tell you that we're not going anywhere.
Listen,
we're not going anywhere.
I had a little confrontation with one of the Twitter mob, a gay man who obviously doesn't like trans women. He would rather promote women's rights than promote trans women's rights, because he sees trans women as men. It's like that traitor mentality, maybe, because, you know, but what people have to realize, not all trans women come from a gay background. You know, trans women come in all shapes, sizes, sexual preferences. You know, we can't put people in a box. What we can do is try to understand people, their plight, respect. You may not see a trans woman as a woman. That's your prerogative. No one's forcing that down your throat. But to go out of your way to try to harm a person, belittle them, name call them, and make them feel bad, that must give you some sort of sick sexual arousal. It must create some sort of like neuron, serotonin, dopamine release. Because otherwise, why would you do that? Why would you purposely misgender a person to get what kind of thrill? That should be a crime. That should be a crime for you to purposely try to hurt a human being with your words. Now, let's see here.
Oh, one more thing.
Okay.
Someone just wrote 14 minutes ago. 2 things that the Cummings have said outright. DNA does not prove anything, which it doesn't.
It doesn't.
And who cares about women's rights, which is the title of our show.
Right.
Sums it up perfectly. What is more to be said? It's like, honestly, you're right.
Yeah.
Honestly,
DNA does not prove anything.
If you don't know what DNA is, which you probably don't,
yeah,
there are conditions that an XY female can have an XY chromosome. I mean, that does not prove that they're not a woman. That just means that they have an XY chromosome.
And with all the problems that we have in the world, and we've got many problems, frankly, women's rights right now are pretty low on the totem pole because women have rights. They have human rights. We all have rights. We all should be fighting for human rights because we all have something. But to have a group of people try to take priority over another group of people, I'm not for that. You know, they've made all sorts of little memes. And I knew doing that show, I knew that's what was going to happen.
That's all right.
It's all right. I don't care. Because I will repeat it. I will repeat it again. Who cares about women's rights? There are bigger fishes to fry in this world. We're dealing with so much more important things than for you to worry about your sports and for you to worry about who uses your bathroom.
By the way, I would recommend that you not go use a public bathroom during the coronavirus outbreak, pandemic worldwide, and that the fact that sports are not going to be played for the next, God knows how long.
So God knows what's going to happen.
So there might not be sports anymore.
Yeah. Who knows what's going to happen with this thing?
So they call you, says the bearded trans-identified female who is literally trying to escape being a woman by self-IDing out of it. Oh, the irony.
They write the most stupidest things. You know, they're like, literally.
You're more man than most men.
An angry mob. An angry mob. I mean, these people have issues. It's like little kids. No, I'm not going to make you play with my toy because you don't have the right body parts.
And then they use memes. It's like they're
children. They're children.
I don't know. I mean, I think it's going to get worse before it gets better.
Oh, and by the way, Mars, I did block you. I blocked you after I blocked that other person when you were saying dumb things. So don't tell people you just left.
Mars, you are a pathetic liar.
Yeah,
you know it.
Yeah,
you know it, and that is a fact.
And then try to say that,
taking credit,
making fun of because I say
something about being
gender is not just about chromosomes, genitals. You know, there's a lot of different things, feelings, all sorts of different. Look, the guy is so envious.
He wants to identify as a trans man.
Yeah.
Yet he doesn't want to be a man.
Yeah,
I don't get it. I mean, he has an argument with Fionn about trans men are men, and then Fionn says no, trans men are transsexual females, and it's like, you know,
it's a very confused guy. And then trying to you have mentioned I'm intersex, and that I mean, you go to bed with me, you know what I have between my legs.
Yes, I do.
You know? Oh, like he doesn't believe it, dude. I don't need you to believe it. I know what I got.
I don't really care what you think. I have been with men, and I know what that looks like, and it's the same thing.
Yeah.
So
anyway, Brianna says, I'm still exploring my gender. I take my hormones daily, but I still go out and identify as male. I was not sure where I will end up in the spectrum, though. Talking to my therapist about it. And that's up to you. You know, we don't judge anyone. Everyone's entitled to live their best life. And whatever that best life is, however it looks like, that's up to every individual. We have to learn to deal with our challenges, internal, external, whatever it is. We should support one another.
Absolutely.
You know, we shouldn't judge, mistreat, do the things that most people do in this world. You know, I'm worried, not so much about the coronavirus, but how people are going to react when things get out of control. Because human beings,
they don't get along.
They don't.
They
animals get along better than human beings do.
I know.
It's pretty scary.
I know, but you know, the really sad thing is that people like Fionn, I honestly was just stating that if you want to be a gender-bending queer man, genderqueer man, and wear dresses and walk around and have long hair and everything and still identify as male, that is perfectly fine. I mean, if you want to wear a beard, if you want to have, you know, if you want to wear whatever, do it. Enjoy that, you know, but don't tell me that I am you.
Listen, we did this.
That was it.
Back in the day when they allowed transsexual individuals to undergo surgery to change our identification, they did it for one reason, so that we were able to blend in and live the authentic life that we needed to live. Okay. People didn't come out and say, hi, I'm trans. They transitioned. They live their life as a man and woman they know they are.
Right.
Fast forward all these years. And again, I am not judging anyone. You're all entitled to do what you want, but do not try to turn back the clock of all the things that we have done to accomplish where we are today. Do you know how hard it was for us to change our documentation? Do you know how much we had to sweat and cry and blood tears to get where we are today, to have some individuals that are not really transsexuals to try to take away what we have accomplished, to recruit and add bullets to the chamber to those people that hate us by name calling, by pointing out things that are hurtful. We're not going to put up with it.
No, absolutely not.
So let's see here. And
Dylan says, because they don't experience womanhood the same, I don't think it's envy as much, really.
Some may have envy, some may not. Some are dealing with their own issues. Kid yourself not. There's issues there. Because if you have to worry about your womanhood being threatened, your place in society being threatened, you being erased, then there's something going on. There's something going on there, you know?
Yeah.
Get ready for worldwide quarantine. I'm telling you, I called it, and call me a conspiracy theorist and whatever else. Look, we're living in very scary times. There are individuals that don't have our best interests as a human species. This is going to roll in a new world. 911 was phase one. Now, this is another phase.
So Terry says, so feminists are whining because they have to suffer through biological issues. I think it would be harder to be a woman born with male parts.
Exactly.
You know,
exactly. But
and that's where I would say, you know, I don't have male privilege. I don't have the things that, you know, that they say that I still have because I transition and I am no longer living with that type of social status. You know, I was not able to keep a man card when I transitioned. It was over, you know, and that's what happens, is that literally where you are in the pecking order of life really does change.
Bully. And Saber Chicken joined us today. We caught you in that other channel today. Yeah.
That guy with 53 subscribers.
Yeah, whole 53 subscribers.
You are awfully busy. I don't know why you're not in a Bible study or reading your Bible or something.
That guy was like annoying on Twitter.
So obsessed with trans.
We went to his channel because he was on Twitter and he was attacking us and he wanted to come on our show. I'm like, why would I want to have you on our show? Anyway, Saber Chicken has a question here.
What would happen if you couldn't get hold of your hormones?
Oh my God!
I would sprout like a glob of chest hair, have a big beard, and I would like totally masculinize.
We actually I have like almost half a year supply. And you're good for even longer.
Yeah, but I take very little amount.
I only do 50 milligrams a week. So I
do like milligrams, maybe 4, you know. So it's like, for me, if I didn't have hormones and if we went into a situation where it got crazy in the world, I wouldn't fret.
No.
I've been without hormones in the past.
So have I.
I've done it.
So have I. There was one time when we lived in Silver City.
A woman.
I was training really hard. We were vegans, and I was doing sumo root, and I was away from hormones for a year. And I looked pretty decent. This last time around, I fell apart, and I think it's because of the stress of our breakup.
Well, when you took sumo root, I mean, you were still bulking out.
Oh, yeah.
You were big and everything, and you weren't on T.
No,
I mean, I didn't like all of a sudden like super masculinize
because after you're on hormones for X amount of years, and as you age, hormones decline anyway.
I think, you know, hormones for older trans people are more of a placebo effect.
I won't be taking them forever. You know, that's why I'm like on 50 milligrams, you know, and eating right and working out. And look, it's the mind. The mind is what I created what you see before you. Anyway, Pure Venus joins us. Welcome. Except not all women are born with uteruses, she says, and that, or he, I'm not sure, and that doesn't invalidate them as a woman. It's hypocrisy.
It really
is.
You know, it's really like, it's really an unfair like labeling system that they have going on.
Yeah.
You know,
and Brianna really says it's like no big deal if you didn't have hormone. You've been on it. You know, it's like, actually, I say to people, after you've been on it for 5+ years, you really want to like not continue. Think about quitting altogether. Maybe take some natural stuff, soy, you know, whatever else. It's hormones decline with age. You know, that's what happens with women assigned women at birth. You know, it declines. Men's hormones decline as well.
Oh, and Pure Venus says Miranda Yardley is actually doing harm to trans people.
Lots of harm. There's a lot of people that are doing lots of harm. We were one of those people, and we can never apologize enough. You know, we said a lot of things because we also fell for that mentality. You know, it's like almost like a self-hatred. You become transphobic of yourself because of what you're hearing other people say. But damn, right now, my gloves are off, and I'm here to defend, to fight for trans rights. I'm here to defend and fight for the rights of trans women.
Thank you.
And I'm here to stand up and fight for the children that require, you know, and when I say children, I'm talking about like teenagers. I don't believe anyone should be given any medication at such a young age. I believe that, you know, that's a case-by-case scenario. Doctors and parents should be responsible for that. But the right to choose, there shouldn't be a stumbling block. You know, people shouldn't tell people they can't do something.
And getting back to Miranda Yardley, we did an interview with Miranda Yardley back in 2015, and we had different opinions and views at that point. And this is how, you know, sinister these rad femmes are, and other people like Fiona Orlander, where they will post old videos, which, by the way, we're not embarrassed of having. We made those videos. We still have them up on our channel, and they are to demonstrate where we've been,
you know,
the history, you know, and all of that. And I had said things in there that, thinking about it now, obviously they don't reflect my current opinions, but that was like back 5 years ago. I mean, that was a long time ago. And they use these things as if it's some kind of like, oh, but Mark and Lynna said this, you know, and it's like, yeah, we did, but we changed.
Yeah.
You know, we believed
People
in God
grow
too, but we don't believe in fairy tales anymore.
Exactly.
You know?
And so Pure Venus says, Lynna and Mark, if you can get to interview Carolyn Cozy, Caprina Adams. I've interviewed Caprina Adams. Transition Radio has been on since 2012, and I interviewed many important people in the community back in the day. Carolyn Cozy, that rings a bell.
She's the one that was the Bond girl.
Okay, no, I never interviewed her. Yeah. The older transsexuals would completely out-debate Yardley on this matter. Totally. See, gender individuals of yesterday compared to the trans, very different. Night and day.
I mean, Young has stated, you know, that he literally feels uncomfortable stepping out the door and feels like he gets clocked all the time.
Right.
Miranda Yardley obviously feels the same way, you know. So this is like coming from people who really do not feel like they can just live their lives. So instead of letting other people live their lives, they impose what they believe you to be onto, for them to be onto you. So it's like this projection thing that if it doesn't fit me, then it doesn't fit you. Then, you know, that's what it is.
Chicken, you know, we've been very, very tolerant of you. Gosh, more tolerant than I'm usually, and I don't know why.
Fashion.
I don't know why.
I don't know why you even come here.
Yeah, and we haven't blocked you.
Again, why don't you go read your Bible?
But to make a comment like that is asinine and stupid. And just, I can't even find the words, insensitive. No, hormones is not a fashion, especially for people in the beginning. I've been on hormones since 2000, actually 1998. Okay. I'm 55 years old. I could take minimal amounts. I could take breaks from it if I need to and then go back to it. You know, I'm well in tune with my body. It's not fashionable. You've been allowed on this chat room because we don't want to seem like we're kicking everybody that doesn't, you know, you're like the devil's advocate here, you know, constantly. And it's like, okay, but have a little more respect. Because with the way things are lately, my fuse is kind of short. I'm getting tired of getting attacked, name called, and all sorts of stuff. So please don't tempt me.
That is just a fashion to take. Then it is just a fashion to take hormones. I mean, honestly, Sable Chicken, if it was a fashion, I wouldn't be taking them. I take them because it alleviates my gender dysphoria. It honestly helps me to feel more comfortable. But that is why people take them, is also because they feel that that is something that they need to do.
Right.
And we so don't want to identify as male that we feel that these hormones help us along in that. And
Right.
for you not to have the compassion to understand that after all this time that we've been on this channel and you've been a part of conversations and stuff, it just really speaks to me about how compassionless you truly are about the plight of transgender men and women. And I don't understand why you even bother coming in.
What is your MO? Like yesterday,
what is your objective?
We had this one, I forgot the name, No Blockers for Children, and they were grilling me and asking me, why have you gone back and forth? You know, I didn't even go in the Twitter account, and I went in the Twitter account and I saw that they are a grandmother of a trans child, since they haven't seen their trans kid for 3 years because the mother has not allowed them to see the grandchild because they don't agree. The grandmother does not agree that the child should have transitioned. So they're angry. Yeah. There's a lot of angry, resentful.
They're upset
at people because I was waving.
Because you were detransitioned.
And they liked what I was saying back then. And then all of a sudden, you know, why did you change your mind? And it's like, because life ain't linear, you know. But Sable Chicken, I mean, I think Sable, I know that they're a Christian. And I think maybe they have a trans child or something. That's their, because usually that's what motivates people to be anti-trans. They're trying to fight something. I mean, I had a lot of Christian mothers who their daughters wanted to be men and they were just beside themselves. You know, instead of being angry at the world, look at what you did that might have caused that. And I know they're saying that's blaming the victim. But there's usually something there, you know, some sort of scenario that took place.
I mean, I know that back in the day when I transitioned, that there was a gatekeeping system going on. I had to go to a therapist. They had to diagnose me with gender identity disorder. And I needed to get a letter of approval written from my therapist to give to the endocrinologist in order to, and I had to go through like a whole like gateway of obstacles in order to be able to get my hormones. And that was something that I needed to like go in an interview with my endocrinologist, explain to him about my life, about what was going on. And I know maybe it's easier these days to do it, but back when I did it, it was something that you had to really like get, you know, I mean, you had to do your thing.
It was, you had to follow
you couldn't just
the
show
protocol,
up.
the protocol that was set in stone. You
was a
know,
protocol.
I had to have, you know, a hysterectomy and top surgery. You had to prove that you had no female parts, you know, and they didn't require trans guys to get a phalloplasty because that's a lot more complicated and a lot more money. But we had to remove our reproductive organs. In other words, they want you to be sterilized. And be on hormone and have had therapy and lived as the gender you're transitioning to.
Living life as the gender that you transition to was very paramount.
And right now they're having a big deal about people self-IDing and walking around. Well, we were walking around self-IDing for a year or two because we weren't getting those paperwork until you proved that you had dysphoria. So how can people live the way and the real life, whatever it's called? They have to use the restroom. They have to go. I mean, I remember my therapist gave me a letter in case I had any confrontation. Please understand that my client has gender dysphoria. He is a transgender individual, blah, blah, blah. Please have courtesy. So if the cop stops you or if somebody freaks out and you're in the, whatever, that letter would protect you.
Right, exactly.
So that's what trans people have to do.
They're not a fashion statement.
I know.
A fashion statement. Unbelievable. Just speaks to the disregard of trans identities that
and the
so many people have.
The disrespect. It's really, in what I find so debilitating, frustrating, and annoying is transgender individuals that are handing out bullets to these rat femmes, to these religious, hateful groups. They are literally creating their own demise. Don't they realize that when the stuff goes down and something happens where we all lost our rights and we got placed in some mental institution, that they're going there along with us?
I know.
Don't they realize that?
You'll be in the same cell as me.
Yeah. I mean, it's like
no different.
Why are you fighting to take our rights away? It makes no sense.
It's like back in the 30s and 40s when the German Gestapo, the secret police of the Nazis, they literally had informants that were Jews, and they were like spying on their own people, right? And they thought that they were gonna get a free ticket out of Auschwitz.
I don't know.
Well, newsflash, when they cleaned up all the villages and towns and stuff that were all closed off and they sent all the people off, they sent those people too, because they don't see you any different.
Right.
You're the same.
And Pura Vida said, these people don't seem to realize that they're setting your rights back by over 60 years. I certainly see it. And I'm a woman, by the way. Thank you. Yeah, it's crazy. But I don't know. I don't know what kind of, what is it, Stockholm syndrome or something that they're having. It's bizarre. It's bizarre. And Sable Chicken says,
Sable Chicken, instead of just taking responsibility, you feel accused, I guess. So
no, because she's probably trying.
I never called you names.
She's never.
Well, of course you
don't have to call names.
You could just sarcastically, kind of
you have
like
the art of sarcasm.
Yeah,
you really do.
Many Christians do,
and I don't know why. I like Sable Chicken, or else I would have. Trust me, you would have been booted out. There's just some reason, I feel. No, I feel the pain. I feel her pain. I know that she's dealing with something, and I don't know. I don't know why, because usually she's
been watching for a while now, and you've seen us go from our ups and downs and everything, and you come back and everything. But I mean, it's like you don't have to be rudely like,
you don't have to call names to kind of like dig. It's kind of like,
it's like, so it's a fashion then. It's like as if it's a little crown that I'm going to wear. Yeah. I mean,
that's Fionn.
Yeah.
Fionn loves which we saw some, we're not using our normal StreamYard, so I can't share, but the pictures I have found with the little outfits of the 50s, it's like some sort of game they're playing.
It is. It's like this little, like, I don't know, like dress up Barbie
and Sprout,
dress
something.
Up Barbie,
something.
It's like
seriously
they want to be Barbie or something.
Yeah. And again, all power to you.
Just don't say that you're me or that I'm you.
Or tell every trans woman that they're men.
That's just really rude.
You may think that, and you may identify with that. But many of us that took the time to do what we did, we don't identify with that. We really don't.
Oh my gosh. Sable, my goodness.
I feel your pain. I have no pain. Gosh, I had pain. I had pain. But last
year there was pain.
Once I learned, once I went back home, and once I learned the dynamics that I grew up with. It's like going back home in the Pandora's box to a time machine from the time I was a little kid to the time now as an adult. I saw the manipulative nature of my mother. I saw everything that I needed to see to understand why I went through everything that I went through in life. That my own parents allowed a predator in the home. Things that I had to work through. My pain, I have no pain right now.
Yeah, but she doesn't just say that. She says, I think you are awake enough that you are going to freak out when you really see what is going on with this grand experiment.
Listen.
Wow.
I'm very aware of all that's going on. I made YouTube videos a very long time ago talking about eugenics. I know that this organic condition has been taken, as everything is in this world, and has been created as an experiment. I know exactly what's taking place, but at the same time, I also know our human nature, and I also know who we are as individuals. And there might be such experiment. There might be certain things, but there is an organic nature to this.
I think what she's saying is that the whole transgender community
is an experiment.
Right.
And there
you and I are just a part of this delusional bunch that thinks that we're one thing when we're really something else.
Let me tell you,
we're going to wake up someday and that we're going to realize that we made a mistake.
Let me tell you, this right here, the meat suit, which, by the way, they're making a ton of fun on Twitter when you said something about the meat suit. A lot of people that live in the black and white world, they don't understand the different realms, okay, that we have. There, in the spiritual realm, the spirit is both male and female.
There is no gender.
There is no gender. It's just like, and it's not your typical, it's male and female energy. What's happening now in our world is we're returning back to oneness. We're returning back to that original state. Many of us have lived many lifetimes, and we have experienced life both as a male and a female. Right now, what's happening is it's all becoming one again. This whole division with sex, the fights, that's exactly what the powers to be want. That's why I always tell people, go inward, dig deep. You ain't gonna find it in the superficial world.
Sable Chicken says, I am sorry you were abused. I was abused by a stepmother, and I would never do that to my child.
I'm sorry about being abused. And see, women do abuse as well. You know, it's not just men that abuse. And that's one of the things I wish that Radfems would understand. I understand the hatred they have of men, but women can be bad too. Both men and women have the capacity of being good or being evil. It's a human thing, not a male or a female thing. But once again, I'm very sorry about being abused by your stepmother. Prophecy End of Days joins us.
Hey, Prophecy. Yeah. Transgender has been around since the beginning of time.
Yes, it has.
You know, the thing is that transgender identities have, by Western societies, Western civilizations, been attacked for a very long time. I mean, the Malu in Hawaii were run out of existence.
Oh, gosh.
They were killed for these basically transgender men and women that existed in the Hawaiian Islands at that time, and they were chased out of existence. So this is something, it's almost like Christianity has this real, like, disgusting abomination, like hatred for people like me, people like you. Yeah. And we're like, I think in their eyes, we're spitting in the face of God. You know, that we're literally telling God, you made a mistake, and it's like, the truth of the matter is, though, is that we don't believe in that. We don't believe in that type of a deity.
No, there's an energy. Yeah, there's an energy source that we're all part of, or fragments of it, and that energy source has both a male and a female, or both like polarities, and being able to understand that within ourselves and being able to cultivate that is part of the reason we're here. We wear these costumes that make us feel comfortable for whatever reason, whether it's trauma, whether it's misalignment during the sexual development. There's many reasons. We can't put everybody on one box and say that one size fits all. But what we can say is people need to learn to respect one another.
Sure.
That's the truth there. And Dilla says, you really seem to go all dad mode on all these haters. Oh yeah.
We're like getting tired.
Yeah.
So we're not taking any BS from anybody at this time.
And Pure Venus says,
it has. There's biological proof of transsexualism.
Exactly.
And we have linked articles.
But they say that's like BS science,
pseudoscience.
They don't want to let go of their beliefs. They're like dinosaurs, and they don't realize that dinosaurs became extinct. They're going to become extinct too. Trans people are here, and we're not going anywhere. We're only multiplying even more, because I believe that's part of the evolution. I believe what's taking place is an evolutionary move. Totally. So let's see here. Bianca says, Brianna, what are your thoughts on young teen trans suicide? Some can survive transition, some can't. Well, teenage years are very hard.
Yeah,
it doesn't matter if you're trans, if you're gay, if you're straight. That's a time in your life where the hormones are going all over the place. They're not quite adults yet, and they're not kids anymore. You're growing. There's a lot of pressure. This day and age, with this modern technology, I think teens have it a lot harder. Their nervous system is totally getting taxed. I think they need a lot of support, a lot of love, a lot of understanding.
And the thing is that we were just watching the I Am Jazz show.
Oh, that was so painful to watch.
It was very difficult to watch because
very painful.
Jazz just doesn't seem, although Jazz has been given everything, right?
Mm-hmm.
Has been coddled from the crib to college.
Yeah.
Now, and
Jazz she was a beautiful little girl, which I met
in a bucket of water.
Yeah.
In a glass.
I met the little beautiful young thing when they were 5 years old. They went to my book signing, but Jazz has had a lot of anxiety issues, a lot of depression issues. There's a lot of dynamic playing into that, and I would figure that somebody who's had it all
would be in a much better
place. So that's very heartbreaking. I don't know why they are the way they are. I do hope that they're able to center themselves. I do hope that maybe once they move out and have to really deal with the responsibilities, that things would come along better for her. Because right now, the last show was so painful to watch. It broke my heart.
It broke my heart really too. Did. And it's like, it just goes to prove that when parents coddle their children too much, it can also be a destructive force, just as much as like ignoring your child can be destructive, obviously.
Yeah,
but like coddling them too much and giving them everything they want and not making them realize that things have value and that people have value and responsibility is something that is theirs to have, that they need to clean their room, that they need to make sure that they brush their teeth,
right.
And
they need to hear no sometimes.
And they need to hear no.
Exactly. But, Pure Venus says, Brianna, I have to speak on this. Go ahead and keep reading.
One of the most screwed up things I've seen was a trans teen who wasn't allowed to transition. He threw himself in front of a bus and left a note explaining.
And, that's very dangerous what's taking place now, that they're trying to prevent doctors from prescribing blockers and hormones to teens.
And there are many that are going to fight you on that and say, well, 85% of, like that gay activist man, 85% are going to desist if they go through their puberty. And it's like, yeah, but there's what? My California math, 15% that won't.
20% that won't, or if you have, but they try to put people in boxes with statistics and numbers. It is not up to anyone but the doctor and the family and the individual. Learn to mind your business. Don't be a stumbling block. What is it to you? If you have a child that's transgender, love them, accept them unconditionally. This is not about you. You're not living in their shoes. You don't own them. If they make a mistake, let them. That's how we learn. That's how we grow. Life will throw you a bunch of curveballs. It's a good thing. That's how we evolve. And so Saber Chicken says there's no proof of multiple lives. There's more proof that Satan is trying to destroy humans through sex for the beginning. Well, there's plenty of proof for multiple lives, more proof than there is of Satan, actually. There have been many people that there was a book called Many Lives, Many Masters, and hypnotized people. It would hypnotize them to the point of taking them back to other lifetimes, and things that happened during certain periods that no one would know were actually proven to be true. What we do know is that nobody knows anything. No one knows about heaven or hell. These are all made up things that were created to create fear. And Saber Chicken, I don't want to take away your belief. You're entitled to believe whatever it is that you want. But to come in here and go, there is no proof, it's like, please.
I mean, why do you have to ramrod your opinion in our shows? I mean, you're going to do it again when we read another comment.
I know.
It's again, it's like, is that necessary for you to it's like you're witnessing or something on the street and you're just shoving your tract in front of people's face. You're selling us with the four spiritual laws, and you're telling us we're going to hell. Right. And it's like, enough. We know the game. I went to Bible college. I know what it's about.
Yahweh
I don't need
is Satan
to be grilled.
And he's the one that is creating all this mess to confuse people, to not allow people to find their own divinity so they could get the heck out of Dodge. They want to keep them here, recycled. Pure Venus says.
And if kids aren't allowed to be who they are, when they realize their own identity, I fear that's going to become the norm.
Yes, it's really sad. It's really, really sad because they don't care. These religious sellers don't care. These rad femmes don't care.
Sable Chicken, do you really care?
No, of course
not. You really care?
They just want to preach the good word. Prophecy end of time says they shouldn't be judging you.
Yeah, but that's what they do best.
Yeah. And Brianna says,
I read an online obituary of a trans girl who was 22. Her family put a female picture, so they had to be somewhat supportive. Her obituary said she dealt with inner turmoil and conflict.
Family sometimes is the most harmful for individuals. That's why I had to divorce mine. And trust me, since I've done that, I am the happiest. I don't feel like that dread every time I had to call my parents. It's like, oh, I'm going to hear this and that. It's like, I'm free. And there is no guilt because I tried. I did a lot of things to try to make peace, to give a little and whatever. And it was never enough. So I'm glad that I literally just divorced. There's nothing there. My family's right here. That's it.
So Dylan says, Pure Venus, there was a 17-year-old, Leela Alcorn, whose suicide was all over the internet a couple years. It was back in 2015. Yeah. Actually, President Obama made a big deal about it in his presidential State of the Union address that year. Yeah. Can't remember her name, but it was a big deal. Yeah, she ran in front of a truck in Missouri. Christian parents who basically cut off her chance to communicate and have any kind of life, really, and they still address their daughter, their daughter as their boy, and
Yeah.
even in the funeral, it was really sad.
And you know what a lot of these individuals are trying to now harp on is all the detransitioners that are coming out of the woodworks. I would like to say that I blame a lot of this on this anti-trans move. Radfems are doing everything within their powers to recruit these young ladies, make them have some sort of regret for transitioning in the first place, or they're planting seeds. And a lot of them just haven't felt support. And so it's easier when you don't feel that support to go back and try to make amends, but it's really sad. So let's see, where were we?
Pure Venus said, yes, Alcorn is one of many teens who committed suicide.
Yeah.
How come they don't address those kids? Or were they mentally ill and needed therapy? That's what a lot of Christians would say. I'm sure that's what a lot of Christians would say about Mark and I.
Yeah.
I'm sure that's what Sable Chicken would say about Mark and I. That we need some kind of therapy. We need
it's disrespectful,
gender conversion,
really.
counseling.
Yeah, it's very disrespectful because, I truly believe that everyone on this planet right now, because of the unnatural way we're living, has some sort of mental angst.
70% of people are on prescription drugs in this country alone, in the United States. And that's a fact.
Yeah.
That's not, some kind of random estimate. That is a fact.
But, even Harry Benjamin, when he was treating transgender individual, he realized there was no treatment other than prescribing hormones and doing the work that's needed to alleviate that dysphoria as much as possible. So that's how this whole thing got started. And that's why we've been allowed to live our life. And to say that everyone heals after they transition, no, a lot of people still have issues. But it is more alleviating to do so than not, and it's a personal thing. And Saber Chicken says that is the thing. Children need the stability, know that they are born male or female. That is okay. And they can express masculine and feminine, but they can't change their sex. That is incorrect. There are children that are gay, lesbian, more feminine, more masculine, but there are also children who do suffer from gender dysphoria, who do have transsexuality. They are gender dysphoric. They are, and I know people hate the term born in the wrong body, but to put everyone in that same box.
And you arrive at that position. Why? Because Genesis tells you. I mean, is that really kind of like your basis for knowing what is supposed to be true and what is not true? Because the Bible is full of errors. I don't know if you realize that. The Bible condones slavery. I don't know if you realize that. The Bible condones violence towards women. I mean, so for you to say what you're saying and to make these bold statements as absolute as you are so certain, it just doesn't, it doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
So anyway, they said, Pure Venus said, how can they not change sex? Even the description of what classified as sex itself isn't set in stone. That's and it isn't. It's a spectrum.
Right. But these individuals, the Christians, the Radfems, those gender criticals, they just keep hammering.
They laughed at us when we said that a clitoris and a penis are the same thing. Just development is different.
Yeah.
But they think it's it's a sick joke.
Yeah, not half of these people aren't even worth our time. They know nothing. Prophecy End of Day says we all have our own beliefs, even if somebody else tries to ram down your throat. Theirs. Yeah, that is true.
Sable Chicken says, I really don't believe that a child comes to the idea of suicide in an organic way. The idea is being put in their head from an outside influence.
You're like,
everything's always
she's so scripted. But no, to give Sable Chicken some credit, you're following a script. It's the same script that all conservatives use and all Radfems use and all gender critical people use. We've all used that same script. When I was doing what I was doing, same script. It's a script. Kid yourself not. It's not even in your own mind. It's like a program. You're not even thinking this for yourself, and you don't even know that. That's the sad thing. This is all scripted. Prophecy end of days.
We are all equal. Why do people think we aren't? Or they know best, or they know better?
Yeah,
they're better.
Exactly. And it's individuality. We each have our path, our journey to take. Dare anyone say otherwise? That's just dead wrong. So pure Venus is because there's a certain sense of elitism and hysteria when it comes to people today. There is. And this internet, Twitter, all this stuff is just it's so vile. It's just so putrefying.
It is.
It's disgusting, really. And it worries me because as we find ourselves in this world pandemic and that people are going to have to rely on one another.
Are we falling into a Twitter universe? Will people respond as they do on Twitter when the shit hits the fan?
Oh, I think it's going to be sad. That's what scares me is people, not the pandemic.
I mean, we saw Katrina, a small little blip compared to a worldwide, situation or a countrywide situation where people went ape blank on one city. People went crazy.
Look what happens to Walmart on Black Friday. Look what happens. I mean, people, it's really, really sad.
What happened to Marcy? Haven't seen her since the interview.
I don't know. I don't know. I mean, we've been communicating. She was on chat the other day. I've been trying to find out what's going on. I hope that she's okay. I messaged her. Not sure what's happening. She's usually around, but
read all those?
Let's see here. What happened? Okay. If I died tonight, I'm pretty sure my family still wouldn't give a damn about my identity. They sure as hell don't give a crap now. It's really sad, that you don't have that support. But it just speaks for people's integrity or lack thereof. It just speaks for how rotten of a species we've become. That people get off on telling someone you're not a woman, you're a man, or you're not a man, you are a woman. Stop feeding your mental disorder, or whatever it is that people tell one another. I mean, it's just, we come to a point, and they think they're being loving and truthful by doing that.
I'm just being honest.
Yeah.
I'm just telling you the truth. You'll never be a woman. That's just the truth.
Yeah.
Right? They tell you.
Yeah. And that's supposed to be loving. Pure Venus says, an androgynous, something. Oh, Pure Venus says the Torah, Tanakh, and Midrash actually support transgenderism, which predates the Bible. There you go.
What did that one
of my rabbi clients that I had said, you're like the Elohim. Both male and female. Yeah.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah. And there are like 5 different genders in the Jewish tradition.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But Christianity thinks they know it all.
Yeah, they do. They know it all.
Yeah.
Newest kids on the block know everything.
Yeah.
It's like, when I was working in TV and the young sprouts came in from, they're 20 something and it's got their little cameras and stuff, and they just felt like they knew everything, but they didn't even know how to focus or how to do white balance. So
Pure Venus.
Dylan Cole, an androgynous who presents both male and female physical traits is in some ways like men and in some ways like women. In some ways they're like both men and women, and in other ways like neither men nor women. Bikuram 4:1.
There you go.
Interesting. That's from the Torah?
The Torah.
And the Midrash.
And Michaela Alexis joins us in home quarantine because Corona, but I get to watch you live from the home while working.
Wow.
This coronavirus is really
pretty serious.
People weren't taking it serious, but I'm like, this is going to be
it's almost
massive.
Like before 9/11.
No, it's before.
And before coronavirus.
Yeah. things are,
America
and the economy
and
is being affected completely by this because people are being told not to go to work. They have to quarantine themselves, and quarantine is 14 days. People that were on the cruise, they were
are
on the
being
cruise.
sent to military bases.
Yeah, and
can we say
FEMA camps? I've been talking
didn't
about
want to
this.
say that.
Yeah, I've been talking about this for years, and people thought I'm crazy. But anyway, yeah, the SHIT is about to hit the fan in ways that most people don't even imagine.
Did you want to read this article? Or
Sure, a little bit, just a little bit of it because it's already, we've been at this for how long now? An hour and 30 minutes. Okay. Dylan says, I'll message her. I tried messaging her. She hasn't responded. So, yeah, try and see. Prophecy Anna Days, it's true. You aren't conspiracy theory. You're a realist. Yeah. Yeah. But you can't even be a realist on YouTube. You can't mention certain words because then the little algorithm and then you don't get monetized. Mm-hmm. You know, it's like we have no freedom of speech. There's absolutely no freedom of speech. There's an illusion. But ever since 9/11, there's no freedom of anything. The toilet paper industry is booming. You know, it's like the other day we went to Walmart and the shelves were empty. I'm like,
hand sanitizer was gone.
And today the grocery store was like,
eggs were wiped out.
I was like, what in the world? Crazy stuff. Anyway, we're going to read a little bit of an article that we deemed. What's it called?
It's called The Woman Question.
The Woman Question. Okay. Well, the dispute between some self-identified feminists and trans persons, trans women especially, and trans-supporting feminists has erupted into a full-scale ideological war.
Once at the level of conflict, officially undeclared, we have moved into the territory of you are either for us or against us, with real threats against real people from both sides. Trans women clearly feel that their existence, and that is not a metaphor, their very existence is at stake. Among those feminists who publicly defend exclusion of trans women from the category woman, some feel that women's ability for self-definition is threatened by trans women's claim to womanhood.
All of us invested in feminism and as such in women have a stake in this conflagration. With that in mind, I offer the following, the style of an open letter to those who do not think trans women are women. Let me start by stating up front, I believe trans women are women. I reject a feminism that excludes trans women. There were times in my past when I could not or would not have written those two sentences. One might say I've evolved on this issue. I am thankful for that. In what follows, I want to share a collection of thoughts and experiences that led me here, hoping that I might convince some to rethink their position. This is not a systemic argument addressing every objection that could be made or has been made on the subject.
My evolution starts from two facts. First, I know and care about some trans women and trans men too. I listen to them. Their experiences, their reality, their sometimes sense of despair and anger, their humanity is foundational for me. They own their experience, their lives, their right to live in the world is unquestionable.
Starting from a position of trying to understand someone else's reality, the phenomenology of their existence is something we should all do, whether concerning trans women or anyone else. Individual and collective empathy is too often untapped.
Second, more than often than not, I am identified by others who do not know me as a man. I would conjecture that in everyday interactions with strangers, I am taken to be a man over 90% of the time. This identification started happening regularly about 16 years ago when I cut my hair very short.
I had always dressed in men's clothing since my teenage years. Add to this that I am nearly 6 feet tall and have broad shoulders and a healthy frame. This is the body I was given. In fact, others so routinely identify me as a man that I'm often caught off guard and surprised if someone correctly identifies me as a woman.
These experiences have changed me. They are now a defining feature of my life. Perhaps having experienced my gender/sex so uniformly, routinely confused, has allowed me to see things, to understand the experience of living in a world in which your body is interpreted one way and your authentic self entirely rejects that other imposed identification.
I am not a man. I do not identify as a man, and I don't want to be a man, trans or otherwise. I'm a woman. But the overwhelming majority of humankind, men and women alike, does not yet recognize my womanhood as a way of being one. So here you are, this woman, born woman, who's 6 feet tall, has broad shoulders, healthy frame, gets pegged as a man. They're not a man, they're not trans, but they're having problems. So, to see where we're going with this?
Following up on that thought, living in the world as it is, I have to fight for recognition as a woman on a daily basis. My choices are to correct people when they call me sir, or assume I am a man, or let it go, which often means functioning socially as a man.
Let me paint a brief picture of what this looks like. Doing something as basic as going to the bathroom anywhere that is public is a nightmare. Few places have unisex bathrooms, so here are my choices: going to the women's bathroom and face public shouting, alarm, ridicule, and confrontation, or going to the men's bathroom, look down at the floor, walk quickly into a stall, and hope no one pays any attention to me, but face a serious fear that they might.
Mostly, I choose the men's. However, at work, I can't make that choice. I can't imagine running into my male colleagues who know I am a woman in there. So it's the women's. But not everyone in the bathroom at a given time knows me, or knows that I work there, or knows that I'm a woman. I have to time my bathroom breaks for when I think no one is in there or likely to be in there. I haven't always succeeded.
So one day, while using the women's restroom on the same hallway at my office, the custodian confronted me. She was entering the bathroom to clean it. I was washing my hands. She opened the door and held it open. 3 other women were attempting to enter the bathroom at the same time. She said, "What are you doing?" I replied, "Washing my hands." She said, "No, what are you doing in here?" I was frozen.
By now, several of my colleagues and unknown students were standing in the hallway observing the commotion, and all this was happening within earshot of the department office. The door of the bathroom was still being held open. She rephrased the question, "What are you doing in the women's bathroom?" I said, "I am a woman." She just stared at me with complete confusion. I walked out. There was laughter. I didn't look back to see who or how many were laughing.
Under the circumstances, I can understand why this woman was alarmed and confused. She sincerely believed I was a man in the women's bathroom, although it sure would be nice if she and others like her would grant the people like me know which bathroom we are in and have a good reason for being there. My saying the words, "I am a woman," never occurred to her, and she could barely process them in the moment.
Now, imagine confronting this every single day in dozens and dozens of ways and interactions, noting that many of you reading this won't have to imagine it at all. Imagine standing over the coffin of your dead grandfather's body while the funeral director turns to your father and says, "This must be your son I have heard so much about." And all your father can say in response is a quiet, "No, this is my daughter."
Imagine going to the emergency room for what you believe to be an ovarian cyst, and the physician and nurses are so baffled they ask your name and repeatedly check your chart for your sex identification, and then ask to see your driver's license, something you already given at check-in, to triple confirm, and presumes that you aren't delusional.
I could go on. I have hundreds of stories. All this because your body is socially interpreted as masculine, yet you identify as a woman. These are my stories, and I was born female and assigned to the female sex. I identify as a woman.
I didn't make this world and its social meanings. My power to transform them as an individual is negligible, if it exists at all. Yet I have to live in this world. I'm trying to live a gender to the extent that doing so is required for being socially intelligible. And obviously have a body, and these two things are regarded as incongruent from dominant point of view. Should we?
In this way, I share a social space with trans persons. I assume my feminist sisters would reject the suggestion that I should be forced to transition my sex or identity to conform to a world that doesn't, on the whole, recognize my existence as a woman. Although few, there are some safe spaces, yet in refusing to acknowledge trans women as women, this in effect what such feminists are asking of trans women.
Let's see here. We got a slew of them. Micaiah says
she's in Texas?
Melbourne. No, where did you see Texas?
I see Texas.
I'm up here. I'm in Melbourne. The Grand Prix got canceled this morning, which is freaking sensible. Where are you from, Dylan? And yes, we still don't have toilet paper. That's crazy.
Yeah, she's in Australia.
In Australia, and they don't have. I mean, why are people buying toilet paper? It's not diarrhea. It's some sort of lung
Use a bidet.
pneumonia.
Get a bidet. Save yourself money.
Yeah. Okay, so I've been to 2 retail stores. Both are sold out of rubbing alcohol. Wow.
And Sable Chicken wants us to know that Christian mothers are women too.
Yes, I know. Trust me. And like I said, I honor, respect you, and I don't dislike you, or you wouldn't be here. But please try to, try to be nice. Yeah.
And she leaves us. Good night, all. Simple Chicken.
Okay. So, let's see. Dylan.
Michaela, socially, yeah, pretty difficult living in Texas. As for the virus, not too bad. There haven't been any major cases here yet, but my mom went a little crazy on the food stocking today.
That's why everybody was in the store. Like, why are all these people in the store?
It was like crazy.
One of the things that I taught myself, and you taught yourself too, was fasting. Because I always said, if there's an end of the world scenario, you need to learn how to live with a minimal amount of food and teach your body how to fast so you don't go nuts and crazy. So I know that's like riding a bike.
Yeah, we could do that like tomorrow if we had to.
Yeah. So try and get face mask if you can. Well, they're telling people not to do that because to leave it for the health professionals, because they're running out of supplies.
Yeah, because one person said that all it is going to do if you're not really affected is make your face
sweaty. And then if you're all sweaty and I know it's, I don't want to downplay it, but I think what's happening is going to be more of a problem, like places shutting down, and they're going to start creating testing stations, which, by the way, I have a question. How can there be testing kits when this virus is rarely new? It's like, come up with these testing kits. Has anybody thought of that? Or am I just, the only one thinking, how can there be testing kits when this virus is pretty new? If anybody has that answer for me, please answer it down below.
Michaela says, LOL, we had a surfing event here that was canceled that was sponsored by Corona Beer called the Corona Open. How ironic.
Right. At least you have a mom and a home to care for you all if stuff goes bad. Yeah, this is going to be, pretty interesting to see. I'm very conspiracy on this, and I think there's a reason for all this, but I'll keep that to myself.
What follows from the refusal of recognition may not be precisely clear as to what such feminists think trans women should do or how they should live, but insofar as claims that position trans women as men impersonating women are uttered, and they are, it seems to me that they're saying, live your life as a socially recognized man, make your body and gender conform insofar as you can't change your body, essentialism, change your gender or gender presentation. Or maybe they think, go ahead and be as feminine as you like, but do it with a male identified body, Fiona, and don't claim to be a woman.
That's the mantra. That's what they want. Setting aside the presumption of telling someone else how to live in their own body, this seems to me to situate trans women as uniquely bearing the responsibility of confronting the false sex dualism and binary gender hierarchy we all live in. Perhaps underlying the refusal to recognize women as women is the belief that true liberation from sexual opposition and gender hierarchy requires that we create a world in which sex roles disappear, in which gender is non existent or so completely fluid as to effectively be a non category.
Well, we don't live in that world yet and are unlikely to. Why should trans women as individuals bear a special burden in getting us closer to it? Most women, including radical feminist women, live a gender that is socially recognized as in the category 1. That is, they conform to certain gender stereotypes of femininity. They are living and existing with a gender and sex in the world as it is now, not as it might be in the ideal world.
By keeping their sex and gender, body and identity and self-presentation coincident, don't they further conventional sex role notion that gender is biologically natural? Doesn't this similarly position them into their own critique as they position trans women? The criticism of trans women as failing to act in ways that are consistent with an ideal of liberation from sex and gender is a little like criticizing any of us for making a decent living under capitalism or investing on retirement funds in the stock market if the aim of liberation is the destruction of capitalism as a social, political, and economic system.
Even Karl Marx had to eat in Here and Now. The central claim many offer for excluding trans women from the category women is that trans women, well, we were not socialized to womanhood since birth, and we lack the necessary lived experience, material reality on which to base a claim to womanness.
I fully acknowledge that there is a material reality to being a woman in this world, but I see two problems with this position. First, in offering the standard of womanhood, I think many are saying, in effect, trans women are not women like me, but the material reality of women is not uniform.
Intersectional analysis of gender teach that women's experience of womanhood is importantly varied across other categories, especially across other hierarchies, including race, class, religion, sexuality, geopolitical location, able-bodiedness, and age, to name a few.
If we explore the points of overlap and departure among all these categories of women, we do find commonality, for example, as subordinated on the basis of sex, as subject to sexual harassment, sexual violence, and gender-based violence because of one's sex. However, women's vulnerability to such subordination is not identical. It varies along other inequalities.
Secondly, and relatedly, asking how trans women stand solely in relation to women, typically seen as such, asks the wrong question. The crucial question is, how do trans women stand in relation to men, to the forms of male power that function to subordinate women on the basis of sex? Are trans women subordinated on the basis of their sex?
Are they subordinated on the basis of their place in sex-gender hierarchy? That is the central question, not how or who they were born as. Trans women are routinely denied employment on the basis of their sex, denied health care on the basis of their sex, forced into prostitution for survival on the basis of their sex, denied access to housing on the basis of their sex, violently attacked, and all too frequently murdered on the basis of their sex.
Much of this occurs because they are not seen to fit adequately the sexual stereotypes of either femininity or masculinity. If subordination on the basis of one's sex is central to the social and political meaning of a woman, and it is, then what can possibly be the response to denying that trans women are precisely in this position? That they were born with a penis? I thought we were past biological essentialism, at least since Simone de Beauvoir.
This is only half the story, though. Not only must women have been born women assigned to the category female, quote unquote, at birth, they must also presently identify as women according to some version of the claim that trans women are not women. Trans women are missing the first necessary condition, it is said. I suppose this means that trans men are men since they lack the second necessary condition.
However, feminist Sheila Jeffreys refuses to recognize trans men as men, routinely referring to them as women and female-bodied persons. There is an essentialism here. Putting this all together, At least one frequently defended version of the standard for woman is original identification by others, as such that begins a process of socialization to femininity as dominantly practiced and enforced, plus present subjective identification as such.
I take it that this is what the phrase women born women expresses. This view further suggests that such women are uniquely positioned to advocate for the political emancipation of women as a class. If so, what should we make of all the women born women that don't? Do those who embrace male dominance fail to integrate it, reenact its imperatives, and relish in the kind of power doing so provides them?
This question is especially acute when contrasted with a group of persons who have actively and at an enormous personal cost, like me, rejected maleness, masculinity, and everything it represents. They do not want to be men in this world. They refuse. If I am choosing whom my people are, the choice seems obvious.
Now to the topic, masculine male privilege. Some argue that insofar as trans women grew up male identified, they have a social history that includes being conferred male privilege. And this experience and the psychology constructed upon it cannot be undone. This implies either they carry the legacy of having them confer male privilege and this sufficient to exclude them from the category woman, or having once been socialized to privilege, they can never develop the psyche of a woman.
As if there was such a thing. These are empirical claims. One might rightly demand some evidence here. I haven't seen any, other than the claims on blogs that individual trans women have acted rudely or entitled in some way that is interpreted as being a product of male privilege. As such, all we may be dealing with here is a hasty generalization, possibly premised upon confirmation biases.
But no doubt, plenty of people can be jerks, and being trans doesn't immune person from any of the behavior that we all as humans display at one time or another. Though in any individual case of criticizing criticizing someone for being an ASS, especially marginalized person who are routinely dismissed as mentally ill, deviant, devious, deluded, and so on, a heavy dose of caution is in order.
The deeper question here is the plausibility of claiming once male privilege, always male privilege. As with the category woman, the category man is varied across all kinds of differences and hierarchies, and so generalizations often work to dismiss, exclude, or erase the experiences of some.
However, socialization to itself about socially demonstrating one's ability to dominate women and those men lower in the hierarchy. It's quite plausible to think that many trans women experience of socialization to social masculinity was an uncomfortable and unhappy experience, an experience they reject and rejected.
Even more, many trans women are not identifiable as trans and haven't been for some time. In point of fact, a trans woman friend of mine has escorted me to the women's bathroom at my request because I knew no one would question her right to be there. And in that way, she served to confirm that I had a right to be there. Another woman walking with you into a woman's bathroom, is one way to avoid a confrontation.
In this respect, they experience male privilege like the rest of us do, as an exertion of power over us. If trans women are socially identified as trans, privilege preceded by any adjective is not a word that comes to mind in describing their experience.
That one would claim that trans women have male privilege in any traditional sense belies any serious knowledge of what trans women's lives are actually like. Even more curious is the seemingly broader claim underlying the position here, the denial that those socialized to masculinity could ever give up or lose male privilege. Isn't eliminating male privilege one of the goals of radical feminism?
And final thought, feminism, as I understand it, is a theory and practice of dismantling male power, gender hierarchy, and women's subordinate position as structurally and institutionally manifest.
This requires a women's movement, a political movement. This, we all know, this movement can't occur while marginalizing, refusing to recognize, and denying the existence of our trans sisters Recognizing our differences as women has always been at the center of feminism done right.
Not all women are women like me or like you, and restricting the category of woman in this way keeps us all from further building the movement we so desperately need. Yeah.
Written by Lori Watson, Associate Professor of Philosophy at the University of San Diego. She works on feminism, political philosophy, philosophy of law, intersection of all three.
All right, so let's see what other comments we have here. Dylan says, Migalia, that's savage. The Corona event. And Brianna says,
Dylan, at least you have a mom at home to care for you if things get bad.
And Taco Forever says, maybe they have nervous diarrhea. Maybe. I don't know. Maybe, I don't know. That was
bidet, people.
Bidet.
Go to your, I don't know where you would get one, but order it on Amazon.
It's very easy too. You just hop in the shower after you keep white bees. I don't know. Anyway, Pure Venus says, I remember reading an article about a trans woman in the 50s who was dragged by the Radfem crowd because that was the peak of the war of sexism. That is crazy. And yet, they claim women aren't violent. They want to put all the violence on men, And like I said, men and women are capable of violence. We're human beings, We shouldn't let our genitals divide us. We shouldn't create such animosity. It's really sad this day and age, and from people who have suffered, it's just beyond me.
Janice Raymond is responsible for a lot of this because she came out with a book in 1980 called The Transsexual Empire. Mm-hmm. And she established a radical feminist approach to transgender that was to significantly affect the dominant feminist position for succeeding decades. Raymond's argument is that sex is chromosomally formed, as Radfem say, and thus secured at birth. From this perspective, gender is seen as an expression of biological sex, with the categories of sex and gender codependent. Raymond's standpoint led to a radical feminist reading of transsexuality as a genetic male practice fashioned by a patriarchal medical system, moreover fueled by the insistence that female biology or female socialization makes one a feminist. The place of trans people within feminist communities became disputed. All because this woman wrote this book in 1980 in which she claims to know everything about what it is for a transsexual to be who they are.
So Tacos Forever says,
she says, it's very coincidental that amidst all the protests in Hong Kong, this virus comes out. Now the streets in Hong Kong are bare.
That's Pure Venus says they attacked her because she said that's all BS, which they claim was the most manly thing they can say.
There's some vile things I've heard some of these feminists say on the Twitter that far outdo any of a BS attack.
Yeah, and the things I've been told, all because I said, who cares about women's rights, And I believe you want respect, you want rights, you need to learn to give it to others as well. We can't have this elitist mentality thinking that one group is better than another group. And if you're trying to eliminate rights for another group just to have your own rights, I don't agree with that.
Honestly, that's why people go to jail, because they have done something to violate the rights of another person. Yeah. So when their rights are violated and they are caught for that rights being violated, then they go to prison, and their rights to walk around the planet and do whatever they want to do is restricted. So why is it that people that claim that human rights are not what we should be fighting for, that we should be instead fighting for the rights of just women, that just women have the right to have their rights defended?
And they're so angry about it and so adamant about it, and they're just walking around with all this hatefulness in their heart and fear and trauma-based actions, and they're taking it out on trans women. What was that word that woman used? Extra, something with an E. And when it's Oh gosh, I can't think of the name of the word.
I'm sorry. Just now.
Yeah, well, we read something with any SR system, something when women are trying to not give trans women their place. I can't think of the
exclusion.
word. It's something like that. Now there was another word, but anyway. And she said afterwards, it didn't matter what you said; they attacked you the same.
Yeah, there is just this, and I don't know why people have a problem with us mentioning that racism, the civil rights movement of the 40s, 50s, 60s within the African American community in the United States, feeling the oppression of a post-slavery world where the white man was still telling the black man where he could eat, what he could do, where he could stay, what he could,
Water
what he could drink
from,
where to stand, where to sit. And to think that this is not the same degree of like animosity coming from the same place of hatred, because honestly, discrimination, it comes from one place. It doesn't matter if you're discriminating against a sex or against a religion, against a people, against a culture, against a political party. Segregational hatred comes from this, discriminatory hatred comes from the same place. So I don't know why they feel that that's offensive. Like there was this black guy that got on Twitter and was like, he wanted to be a guest on our show because he wanted to like say, hey, I feel offended as a black man that you would even appropriate anything having to do with trans rights and the rights of black people. And it's like
it's the same prejudice, it's the same discrimination, no different. There's different degrees and different dynamics, but it stems from the same energy.
I mean, we had a discussion about what Jeff Doherty did when he did a program on transgenderism and said, hey, you people, you can have your own, places and stuff, but stay out of our hair.
Yeah.
It's like, isn't that the same thing that was said to black folk?
Exactly. And Dylan says,
I think that people are so used to knowing what to expect to clock a trans woman, they forget that not all Native women are what is currently perceived as passable. It's terrible. Non-trans women have to deal with that.
I know. And then Pure Venus says, I believe she's still alive too. She's quite old now, though, however, she did an interview just last year. So I would absolutely try to reach out to her if you could for an interview. Did you give her name?
No.
If you could send us an email with her name, or maybe or a way that we're able to contact her, we would love to interview her for sure.
Dylan said, why are they acting like a trans person's identity is suddenly invalid just because that person may be rude or do terrible things? We are all human beings, privilege or no privilege has nothing to do with it.
Exactly. And Pure Venus is because that's the ideology of these people. They're warped. They're so warped. If a person goes on Twitter and the way these people, that they attack you like a mob, like they'll sit there and they send tweet and then they get cocky, like, why aren't you answering me? You're avoiding the question. I'm like, because there's like 50 tweets and you think I'm going to spend all day long answering all your tweets. Like we have nothing else better to do than to sit there. I said, you want to know our views? You want to know what we think? Watch our shows because we talk a lot about it. We have specific shows about specific things. But we're not going to sit there all day long battling with a bunch of crazy people who call us crazy. So, Pure Venus says,
chromosomes are one criteria of defining sex. There are also genitals and gonads, which can be changed. Thus, in effect, you can alter sex.
I know, but they think not. They're like so bound on that biology, and everything's biological. Your biggest sex organ is your brain, and that's where your gender center is, and they make fun of that. But that is actually where it is. It's like cells in your body. There's so many different things that make up a person. It's like they try to divide. Well, this thing is for this and this is for that. It doesn't work that way. Michaela Alexis says a trans woman in Sydney attacked people with an axe. Rad femmes were like, really, a man? See how violent. Cis woman stabs her children to death. Rad femme whistles and then looks the other way. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, because they think they can do no wrong.
What about the madness of Jessica and Eve with kids? You know how many women who have affairs with boys underage that gets a slap on the wrist?
I know. Lots of them.
So, 56 minutes ago, someone wrote, Mark is a trans man with serious internalized misogyny.
That's a word that they love to use.
That would be Fionn. Fionn actually said that they had internalized misogyny.
They love to like, they have these click words and these, it's like...
Abused. Mark feels mother betrayed the little girl's self. So hates not only females, but the part of female that needs protection. Must deny and sublimate the female in need of protection inside. For Mark, it doesn't exist. And again, manipulative,
trying to psychoanalyze,
deconstructing, you know, it's like, that doesn't work.
And I don't care what they have to say or think. I live as the man that I know that I am. There's nothing like, and like I tell them, there's absolutely nothing that you can do to prevent transgender people existing. We're going to go to your bathrooms. We're going to do whatever it is we have to do and live our lives, basically, you know?
Yep.
But they're it's, and then they cry over the fact that their accounts get suspended. Well, duh, you're being abusive, you know?
Yeah, I literally block. I mean, I literally report these people who misgender. You know, I mean, it's like, and so at first they said, "I'm so sorry, Mark went through that as a little girl. How horrific! One would think such an experience would make Mark care about the safety of little girls and women." Reading Mark's comments to women, I would suggest Mark is nowhere near through the healing process.
No, Mark
# psychology.
Mark is just fed up with rat femmes, with Christians, with all these people that all they do is try to knock trans people down. Okay, so Mark is well healed. Mark has, you know, no problems. I believe women don't deserve any more rights than men. I believe that women need to return to being women if they want, you know, what they're claiming to want.
And then people rip us for living in a fifth wheel, which honestly, I love living in this little fifth wheel. I mean, it's not that small. I mean, it's paid for.
Yeah.
We enjoy it. It's easy to maintain. It's a great place to live. We love the mountain that we have right in front of us, and it changes scenery all the time. But this guy writes, dude, don't even waste your time. I'm from Arizona and love beautiful Arizona, but lots of crazies go there to live in their trailers and do whatever. Not even worth your time.
So people that are smart and don't want to pay a ton of mortgage or a ton of rent, you know, and live in a mobile home or in a fifth wheel or RV or whatever, we're saving lots of money because the rent, you know, where you pay to park your vehicle or your RV or whatever is very minimal. So who's the crazy one now? Well, you guys have to work to pay your mortgage and rent. You know, we don't have a lot of overhead.
When you guys are out of work and you can't really pay the bills and you're going to get kicked out of your house, we got a place.
Yeah.
And it's very comfy.
Yeah, so, extremely.
Who's the dumb one?
Yeah.
Honestly, coronavirus hits, we're paid for.
Yeah. No problems here. And Brianna says, continue to be you and let them be them. Yeah. But the thing is, they don't let trans women and trans men be who we are. They want to tell us who we are, how to live, where we compete, and what we can do with our lives.
And honestly, the trailer was something that we had wanted to get from a long time. We lived in an apartment in Silver City, and we always, you know, you had an RV before, you know, and
I love RV.
You liked it.
I like
and
it. It's
you
simple.
Know, it gave us the opportunity to, because you know, Mark and I, we were very much like, we liked new things. Yeah. So, you know, moving away from where we were living was really nice.
Yeah.
You know, moving here is great.
Great. I would love to live in a fifth wheel, says Prophecy. And at the time it's trendy. You don't have mortgage. You're smart. Exactly. Exactly. Well, I think we've been at this for 2 hours now.
I think so.
And I'm like tired of looking at Twitter and all that.
I went through this with them once. Conspiracy theory nutter. Yeah.
Yeah.
And a serious woman hater, which is probably why they transitioned to male.
No, I transitioned to male because I know that I'm a male. I've known from a very young age, and I have progestin-induced virilization. This is what feels natural to me and who I am. But I could say a lot of these people, you've been sexually molested, you hate men, you can't deal with a trans woman because you think they're a man, and you have this spiteful, hateful attitude towards trans women. You're the one that needs therapy. I work through all my issues. I'm fine and happy. And
we wanted to personally thank Fiona Lander for bringing us all these wonderful, high quality people into our lives to spew hatred at us. Yeah. It's honestly a privilege to be hated on by you people, because that makes me know for certain that I'm doing the right thing. Because if I wasn't doing the right thing, we wouldn't get any kind of, any kind of
I know, but they're
reaction.
They're very fearful, and they're in pain. People like that are just in pain, and I mean, it's like I don't even want to go back to anywhere. I mean, it's like it's exhausting. It's like it never stops. So if you just ignore them, they'll go away. Basically,
eventually,
yeah, they eventually do. So Tacos Forever says, I also really love the RV. One day I'm going to get one for myself.
Highly recommended.
Yeah. Sandy Stone is the name of.
Oh, okay.
I wonder if she has a Facebook. There's probably a lot of Sandy Stones, so I'm not sure. But hey, Darcy, late to the party. We've been on for 2 hours and getting ready to sign off. But I'm doing good, brother. Hopefully you're too. Kind of tired. It's been, this Twitter war is very exhausting, extremely exhausting. But we're gonna take a break from that tonight.
I think so.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in.
Yes.
Please subscribe, hit the notification button if you appreciate what we're doing. You can either become a Patreon or you can donate to the Google Pay account, Lynna Cummings @gmail.com. And keep being you, be happy, be well. Don't let anyone tell you who you are and how to live your life, because no one has that right. So we love you guys, but remember to always love yourselves too. Good night and be well. Take care.